Good evening, everyone. I'm First Selectman Christine Vitale, and here to call the annual organizational meeting of the Town of Fairfield RTM to order. Will you please take the roll? Ms. Brown?
Peter Britton. Here. Doug Niffen. Melissa Longo. Brooke Sparacino. Scott Bissing. Tara Cook-Littman. Craig Diamond. Gil Larson. Ashby Dodge. Ann Fiffick. Mike Hardigan. Cindy Waldron. Jen Hallhuth. Laura Carson. Michelle McCabe. Liz Zesma. Betsy Elrick. Josh Garskoff. Sharon Pastilli. Jay Wolk. Emma Barron. Rob Blanchard. Eric Juniak. Tracy Rodriguez. Steve Barretts. Lori Galdenzi. John Kuhn. Scott Nickel. Lenny Brayman. Chris Carroll. Rich Jacobs. Eileen O'Reilly. Drew Georgiadis. Lisa Havey. Amanda Morgan. Karen Wackerman. Matt Ambrose. Justin Contrado. Margaret Horton. Pierre Ratsky. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ask you all to please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Okay, we're moving on to item number 2, to consider and act upon the minutes of the joint committee meeting held on October 20th, 2025, and the regular meeting held on October 27th, 2025. Can I have a motion? Representative Pastilli, second. Representative Havey, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Abstentions? All right. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to elect a moderator for this year. Can I have a motion? Ms. Wackerman, Representative Wackerman, sorry.
Karen Wackerman, District 9. I'd like to nominate Margaret Horton for the position of moderator. She's done a great job in the last few months after taking over for Marcy Spolier, and I know she'll be a terrific leader for us.
Thank you. Can I have a second to that nomination? Ms. Representative Carson.
Laura Carson, District 4. It's my honor to second the motion to have Margaret be our moderator. She's done a great job so far and learning quickly on the job, and I have full confidence that she will do a terrific job. She has demeanor, temperament, and she's very committed to doing the work. So my honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for moderator? Seeing none, nominations are now closed. All in favor of electing Representative Horton as moderator, please say aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Congratulations. I will now be leaving you all. It has been my honor to serve as temporary moderator.
Right, thank you. I'm very grateful to be able to continue on now for a full term as moderator. Continuing with item number 3, we actually now need to elect a deputy moderator. Is there a motion? Representative Georgiadis.
Hi, Drew Georgiadis, District 9. I'd like to nominate Chris Carroll as Deputy Moderator for the RTM. I have known Chris since my days as the Field Director for campaign 2 years ago. I had the honor and pleasure of knocking a lot of doors with Chris. We spent a lot of time together. I was impressed by his passion, his ability to focus in on what needed to get done and what basically just getting the job done. And he also served on my committee, the Public Works and Planning Committee as secretary, and he was diligent and got the work done on time and asked all the right questions. So I'm here today to nominate Chris Carroll as deputy moderator.
Thank you. Is there a second? Representative Britton.
Peter Britton, District 1. I would like to second Chris Carroll for Deputy Moderator. He and I have gotten to know each other very well on the Committee of Public Works. Very diligent man, good man, totally support him.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for deputy moderator? And any discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none. Any comments from the public? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And any abstentions? All right. Pretty sure that motion carries. All right, congratulations, Deputy Moderator Carroll. There you are. Come on up. All right, item number 4, to nominate and elect members to serve on the Special Legislative Management Committee. Do I have a motion to nominate members to this committee? Representative Pistilli.
Karen Pistilli, District 5. I'd like to nominate Michelle McCabe, Rob Blanchard, Laura Carson, Peter Britton, and Melissa Longo.
All right, do I have a second for these nominations? Representative Nickel. Any discussion? Seeing none, any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Pretty sure that one carries unanimously as well. So congratulations. Thank you to these representatives for serving on SLMC. We will now actually take a break, a short break. Most people can just hang here. Our newly elected SLMC committee, or SLMC, is going to meet to elect their chair, vice chair, secretary, and item number 5, they are going to populate the Legislation and Administration Committee. And so we will take a few minutes for SLMC to quickly meet and come back. So the rest of you can just hang out. LNA has finished as well. I'm going to ask everyone to quiet down. I'm going to ask our newly elected Secretary of LNA to please come up and announce the leadership for that committee.
Hi, Jed Hahus, District 4. Our newly elected chair is Elizabeth Zezima, and our vice chair is Pierre Ratsky, and I am the secretary.
Thank you. And I'd also like to invite newly elected majority and minority leaders to come up and announce leadership roles for their caucuses. And I see that one has already made her way up to the podium. So Representative McCabe, why don't you go for it?
Thank you. Sorry, I was actually gonna
Oh.
the door. Bad timing. Hi, Michelle McCabe, District 4. I am going to be the majority leader for the Democratic Caucus, and I will be joined by Rob Blanchard as the second in command deputy. Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Britton, I believe.
On this responsibility. Peter Britton, District 1, nominate Melissa Longo as our deputy minority leader. I will be the minority leader, Peter Britton, District 1. So that's our team.
Thank you. And thank you to all these members of caucus leadership, SLMC, LNA, taking on these additional duties in addition to your regular responsibilities as an RTM member. So as moderator, it's now my duty to remind RTM members that we are bound by the ethical requirements of the standards of conduct as outlined in both Article 11 of the Town Charter, which our town clerk distributed the newly revised charter to all members who are present this evening, as well as the town's ethics ordinance. We are also required to follow the Freedom of Information Act. You should have all received an invitation to the FOIA training on December 1st. I will also later this week distribute to members via email a guide on FOIA that was developed by our town attorney. Lastly, a reminder that RTM proceedings are governed by our rules to regulate and Robert's Rules of Order. All members should have received via email a copy of our newly revised rules to regulate, a guide to Robert's Rules, a copy of the ethics ordinance, and information about standards of conduct. If you have not received these, please let me know so we can make sure to get them to you. I'm not going to go through all of the changes to our rules to regulate since you all have copies, but I did want to highlight the change that members who are attending our meetings virtually must keep their cameras on and shall not be permitted to vote or count towards a quorum with the camera off. Obviously, you know, if you need to kind of take a moment and do something, of course, but in order to be an active participating member of the meeting, you do need to have your camera on. All right. I think we can move on to item number 6. To consider and act upon the following resolution recommended by the town clerk. Resolved that in accordance with the town charter and state filing rules, the representative town meeting hold their regular meetings for the year 2026 on the following dates: January 26th, February 23rd, March 23rd, April 7, 8, 9, and 27th, May 4th and 26th, June 22nd, July 27th, August 24th, September 28th, October 26th, November 23rd, December 21st, and informational meetings to be held the following dates: January 20th, February 17th, March 16th, April 20th, May 18th, June 15th, July 20th, August 17th, September 21st, October 15th, November 16th, December 14th. Is there a motion to approve? Representative Pistilli, and a second by Representative Blanchard. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Pistilli.
Sharon Pistilli, District 5. Because of a known conflict with some school activities, I would like to make a motion that we change April 9th to April 6th. So it would be April 6, 7, 8, and 27 instead of April 7, 8, 9, and 27.
Thank you. Is there a second to this? Representative Nickel. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Any comment from the public? And so this is simply to vote for this motion to amend. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so that motion to amend carries. So now we'll go back and vote on the amended calendar. Please don't make me go through all those dates again. The change is in April, so the April meetings will now be April 6, 7, 8, 27 instead of April 7, 8, 9, 27. Any more discussion on this item? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? All right, that motion carries. And finally, we have item number 7, to hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Finance. Resolved that the town hereby authorizes, approves, and directs the appropriation of the fiscal year 2024 to 2025 revenue surplus as follows. The portion of the fiscal year 2024-2025 surplus resulting from actual revenue amounts that were more than budgeted revenue amounts, revenue surplus, shall be appropriated as follows. Details of revenue surplus. General taxes, $2,704,771. Licenses and permits, $1,265,359. Charges for services, $1,400,011,103. Income from investments, $3,536,315. Miscellaneous, $213,309. See Exhibit 1. Fines, $137,406. State grants, $72,000. Discontinued funds, $13,589. Other, does that mean negative? $127,302. See Exhibit 1. Total, $9,226,552. Appropriation to the debt service fund, $9,226,552. Please don't make me do any more of this. Is there a motion to approve? Representative Hardigan and a second, Representative Pistilli. So now that we have a motion on the table, given that we did not have our informational meeting this month, I have asked our CFO, Tom Harris, and Board of Finance member Craig Curley to present to us on this item prior to our discussion. And so I'm going to turn the floor over to these gentlemen.
Thank you. Good evening. These are really, as was stated in the motion, the excess of actual revenues over the budgeted amounts. The budget was approved by each of the boards, and the principal components are general taxes. And the reason for that favorable variance is due to the fact that the actual collection rate was higher than the budgeted rate. The taxes are collected quarterly, so that's, just a very favorable outcome in terms of collections. The other large item in here is licenses and permits, which is attributable to construction activity. These are permits that are issued in conjunction with applications for construction permits. The third item that I'll mention is investment income. And when we do the budget, we only budget for realized gains and losses. Hopefully we're always going to have gains, but there are unrealized gains in this case, which means that the value of investments versus the cost is in excess of the cost, and that excess is not included in the budget. When we do the budget, we only include the estimated realized gains and losses. So those are the principal components. If there are other questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Is there any questions? Representative Britton.
Peter Britton, District 1. So the question is, given the increase in these general taxes, would that affect next year's budget or your estimating for next year?
No, this really does not affect the budget for next year. The,
Mr.
excess-
Harris, I'm going to ask that you speak into the microphone so anybody watching online could hear.
This really is not a factor in next year's budget directly. I mean, to the extent we have funds in the debt service, we will consider that possibly when the mill rate is set. But it does not have a direct effect on the budget for the current year.
Wouldn't raise it or lower.
There is when the budget is prepared, the Board of Finance sets a estimated collection rate, and that rate, I think, it's lower than what it was last year.
And I see that Mr. Curley actually has an answer as well.
Craig Curley, Board of Finance. Tom's right, it doesn't directly affect the budget, but it will indirectly in the sense that when the Board of Finance sets the mill rate each year, we do look back at the historical collection rate. And like any good financial advisor will tell you, you can't judge the future based on the past. However, we do look at the 3-year and 5-year trends. And fortunately for Fairfield, we've got a very good taxpayer base that is paying, we are receiving taxes. The collection rate is near 100%. It's over 99%. But each year that trends up, we will take that into account when we set the mill rate. So it will. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Representative Carroll.
Thanks. I had 2 questions. I'll state them both, and I believe I submitted them ahead of time. One, the other category is large. A little bit of an explanation of what's contained in that.
Into the
then-
microphone, please, Representative Carroll.
Do you not hear me?
We can hear you, but people at home might not be able to hear you.
Year, if there's a variance, if it is over budget, transfer from departments. That this number was about $2 million for all departments.
If you have a follow-up question, yes. And your name, please.
Chris Carroll, District 8. Through you, Madam Moderator, a follow-up question. Where is that $2 million accounted for in the budget? And so I know when we've talked with the Board of Education, we've been very specific that the superintendent does not have the latitude to move money from one budget line to another. And it sounds that's exactly what you guys do with debt within overspending in one department being made up by savings somewhere else.
Those transfers are approved by the Board of Finance. I think they were approved last week at the last meeting. So if there is a savings in terms of actual spending versus budget, that goes into debt service, and that is approved by the Board of Finance. That transfer is made after all of the departments that have overspent the budget have been balanced out by transfers from departments that underspent, such as DPW.
Thank you. Representative Carson.
Laura Carson, District 4. This may be a stupid question, but it says state grant for 72,000. I was under the impression that when you get a grant, it has to go to a particular thing. How are we taking that money and putting it into our debt service? What am I not understanding?
Well, this is, okay. This is the difference between, we had a budget for state grants and we had an actual amount. So this is just the difference between the actual amount received and versus what was budgeted. And again, you account for the difference and that goes into debt service.
Thank you. Representative Fiffick.
Hi, Ann Fiffick, District 3. Just for my own information, we have the $3.5 million in unrealized gain. And I see that it's not included in the town's annual budget, but it is included in the town.
And I think you might need to speak more into the microphone. I'm sorry.
I can see that the $3.5 million is included in the town's annual budget, but it's not included in the town's annual budget, but it's included in the town fund balance. And it's primarily driven by a bond investment, so very sensitive to interest rates. So how is that $3.5 million used and considered in what the rest of the revenue is, where that rest of the revenue is, you can kind of count on now since you've already booked it?
Again, the unrealized gains go into the debt service account, so to speak. But that will change daily, really, because we have $3 million surplus as it relates to unrealized gains now. But if the market changes, that could go down. But it's a component of the debt service balance. But I think if we look at how we're going to use that surplus, that's probably the last component that will be used because it could go away, so to speak.
Thank you. Additional questions? Representative Blanchard.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Rob Blanchard, District 6. And thank you, Mr. Harris and Curley, for being here and giving us this presentation. I think given the size of the surplus and some new members here, wouldn't make sense to maybe postpone to a date certain, perhaps December 8th, just to give folks more time to ask questions, digest the data, make sure they're making a good decision here.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor, seconded by Representative McCabe. So there's a motion on the floor to postpone this item to a date certain to December 8th, when we are scheduled to meet already. We could call a special meeting very quickly prior to our informational meeting. Is there any comment, any discussion on this motion? Representative Garskoff.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Josh Garskoff, District 5. Just wanted to ask these gentlemen whether that timing would be okay for the town, if there's any issue with postponing the vote till that date.
I don't see any issue at this point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other discussion on this amendment? Okay, so we are voting at this point to, oh, I'm sorry, did somebody? Oh, go for it. Please go for it.
Yeah, Craig Curley.
I think that we need to speak up. Oh,
Oh, we do
Gotta
have,
make sure
we
the green
do have
light
to
is
push
on.
that button.
Yeah.
Okay. If we as a body take no action with respect to this revenue surplus, it doesn't mean the surplus goes away, but what will happen by default is that this money will fall into our general fund, which is not necessarily a bad thing. About 11.76% of our annual operating budget is set aside in an operating or general reserve fund. That's critical to the town's credit worthiness and maintaining a AAA rating. The Board of Finance pays very close attention to that and works very hard to make sure that we as a town do not draw down on that general reserve fund unless it's an emergency. To give you an example, even through COVID, the town did not draw on that reserve. So it really has to be not just a rainy day, but an extremely rainy day. However, this is a very substantial surplus. Our general reserve is about a little over $40 million, and this is almost 25% of that. If we take no action, this money will fall into that account. And in the last several years, when we've had similar sized surpluses, since COVID, the Board of Finance and the RTM has taken a different tack, and we've put this money not in the general reserve fund, but into a debt service reserve fund, which is then something that we can use at a later date for other projects, like the fill pile, like the or fill pile remediation, like the Penfield issue, or anything else that might come along. We obviously have a lot of capital projects on the horizon. And so the town has intentionally steered this surplus, instead of going into the general reserve, to put it into a separate reserve account, which we can use for other items without jeopardizing our credit rating. It's not viewed as a positive thing for towns to pull out of that reserve fund, the general reserve fund, so we're taking this step proactively. It shouldn't be a controversial item, but I do recognize that this is a new board and with new members, and I wanted to make sure that everyone was comfortable with the direction that we've gone. This is, again, something we've done for the last several years. And any projects that are funded out of this debt service reserve still have to go through the proper approval processes. So it's not like it's going to be set aside and used for anything else. We still have controls over how this money is spent, and we have to get the appropriate approvals accordingly. So I just wanted to add a little color to that, make sure everyone who was new is comfortable with that idea. If there are any other questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you. So any further questions or discussion on this on the motion to postpone? Okay. Seeing no further discussion on the motion to postpone, is there any comments from the public? Okay. So seeing none, is there anybody online? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to postpone this item to a date certain, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And abstentions? So it looks like that motion carries to postpone this item to vote on a date certain, or postpone this motion to postpone the item to a date certain on December 8th. And so I will work with the town clerk to call a special meeting immediately prior to our informational meeting that is already scheduled for that night. Okay. And thank you, Mr. Curley and Mr. Harris. Item number 8, to consider and act upon any other matters presented to said meeting and which may be properly acted upon under the rules of the representative town meeting. Is there any discussion on this item? All right, speaking as moderator, I am really excited to be working with everyone together as a body for the next 2 years. Seeing no other discussion, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Representative McCabe, seconded by Representative Walk. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.